Hello, everybody. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese to high schoolers out here in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm continuing my musings and experimenting with the GLAD techniques, that's Guided Language Acquisition Development. And once again, these techniques are developed for an elementary school total immersion setting. And I'm trying to adapt them for my secondary language classroom, where I only see students for an hour a day, maybe an hour and 20 minutes every other day, depending on the class. So today we're talking about my experiments with expert groups and my third thought about what an expert group could be in the high school setting. So with this week, I played with what I call scrambled sentences. All right, so you can see they've got a bunch of little cutouts in front of them and they're trying to put them into sentences. This took a lot of prep, but I do it on cardstock so that I have it for years to come. Now here, I made it way too small. This was a lot of cutting out for me, very time consuming. This is probably a good size, and generally my card games are always really super big, so I can just go slice, slice, slice at the paper cutter, and it's really quick. This would probably be too big for this because I want them to spread it out on the table, but this would be a good size. But my first time doing it, when I took the pictures, it was way too small. So what I did was I took every sentence from the big book, because remember, we've developed a big book for a certain unit. And I took all of the sentences, and I had 9 pages, so 9 sentences, and I printed them on cardstock. And I have table groups of about 6 students per table. And I decided to print each page of the big book on a different color of cardstock. And so I had to print it quite a lot. But I went through the rainbow. So sentence number 1 was on red cardstock. Sentence number 2 was on orange cardstock. Sentence number 3 was on yellow cardstock. And that way, when I get confused or when pieces get missing, I can instantly look and see where they go because of the order of the rainbow. Okay. Then it took a long time to cut things out and put them in envelopes. I have in the past used TAs in the office to help me with this. Students aren't allowed into the workroom, but I can certainly hand them my printed pages and say, can you cut this out? But for this, I wound up doing it all myself because I didn't want the sentences to get mixed up in the different envelopes, because I was really worried that like one word from the second table group's envelope would get into this envelope or whatever. And sure enough, by the end of the day, groups had dropped little ones on the floor, and it was hard to keep track of, oh, this goes in this envelope and whatever. It's a little like doing a puzzle without all the pieces. So the first several times I did this, maybe the first 3 times, just could not keep the students in the target language worth a darn. So I just kind of like breathed a big, deep breath and said, all right, as they learn how to play this game, I'll let them talk in English, and then I'll give them the scaffolding for how to stay in the target language for the other games. So when you watch my video, yeah, there's a lot of English going on there. Okay. The color coding I did, I'm really glad, because I was going to give them instructions, but instead I decided I'm just going to plop the envelopes on the table and see what they do with them. Let's see how cognitively demanding this is. And pretty quickly they realized that the colors meant something, and they started separating them into stacks. And there's 6 people at the table and maybe 9 sentences, maybe 10 sentences. They figured out, okay, you do these, you do all the blue ones, you do all the pink ones, and they did figure it out. So that was really good. Whether or not it was really effective, well, pretty quickly I figured out, we were working on food words here, and pretty quickly I saw, I need to scaffold le partitif a little bit more, the partitive in French, which is that everything in French needs an article, a definite article or an indefinite article in front of it. And when you're working with food, you're going to have some food always. You're not ever just going to have bread. You're going to have some bread. Okay, and so I figured out, formative assessment, this was really good for that. They need more work with le partitif. Because do you want to eat a turkey, the whole turkey, or just some of the turkey? And again, even though we had been working with the big book quite a lot by this point, we read the big book once a day for a week and a half, choral repetition. Even still, the students didn't recognize all the sentences from the big book. And I think by this point, we had already done running dictation. We hadn't done the next one, experiment number 4, that I'm going to talk about. But I was really surprised that they didn't recognize the sentences right off the bat. So that was an eye-opener for me. All right, so now I'm going to show you the video. And again, there's a lot of English, but this gives you an idea of what's going on. And I'm hoping to tweak this and make it a little more solid. But again, it's an awful lot of work, and I really only want to put work into things that are going to give me a lot of bang for the buck. So stay tuned for the next episode, and I will tell you what worked with that. All right, so this is me experimenting with the GLAD technique. I've created a little story. I've actually created a lot of different stories following my GOIC. And I'm trying to get the students into expert groups that make sense, because expert groups, as explained by GLAD, will leave the students out of their zone of proximal development. So I want to get them working at N+1. So we've gone over the story many times, once a day for almost a week now. And then I have the students doing a little expert group thing. It's a little different than how GLAD envisioned it. Talks, because we're gonna have more than one. I just want to see what you guys do.
What if it's like different sentences?
Maybe there's more than one of you at the table.
Yours is going backwards, so I can't read. Girlfriend, put it sideways. This way. You're only right to left. Isn't it alright?
We should first color code them, right?
Not to be like, yeah,
Oui, c'est vrai.
So are we making sentences? We're currently sorting by color. My friend wants to know, but like, I don't know. Because I'm a little bored. I think I might, honestly. I think it'll be fun.
Maybe, yeah.
If it takes 5, then
What if like you're a more demented version of the Tootsie Pop owl? Look.
Yeah. Okay. Oui. Oui, vas-y. The next expert group experiment I'm super excited by. I think this one worked really well. So that'll be the next one, my experiment part 4. And again, if you want a write-up so that you can look over it in more detail, more of my musings in more detail, go to studio-nemo.com, where I will have posted the write-up for it, or go to visit the Duolingo Educators Network on Facebook, and my write-up is there also. And of course, comment any questions, any ideas to help me make this better and more robust. Comment on the video, ping me in the Duolingo Educators Network, talk to me on my website, whatever. I'm always looking to improve. So thanks for listening.